Jurla, 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 Badame, Ganyana, jurla, Nimbo, Wangabone, jurla, jurla, jurla.
Well, I first met Uncle Pete. I teach at our local college. I teach horticulture, and I was running some courses up at the ACRC in Katoomba, which is the Aboriginal Cultural Resource Centre. And I was running courses there, and Uncle Pete was a part of that. So that was about 4 years ago. And I did have an association with the Indigenous community up here before that. I had run other courses through the ACRC and playing and coaching football up in the mountains. So there's a large Indigenous community that play, they love their sports. So I've always had that association. I'm originally from Wagga Wagga in southwestern New South Wales, and I've always grown up sort of with Aboriginal people always around me, and always good friends and mates.
My name's Peter Williams. My people on my dad's side are Ngiyampaa, that's northwest New South Wales, and Dad's mother's side is South Coast, Tharawal. My mother's people are Kunha, southwest Queensland, and Ngiyampaa. So she was born in Brewarrina. As my brother here, I call my brother because we've done ceremonies together, and teaching him, and we're both learning different ways through our system. I've been doing it 30 years this year. Known James for 4 to 5 years, and now his spiritual side of things is gaining pace since to what we are sharing with him, to what he's learnt before. We haven't delved in that yet, because everyone has their own path. People talk about settlement and Australia Day and everything. We've had that for a couple hundred years before Cook. Van Diemen's, the Dutch landed in Western Australia. You had the Macassans in Arnhem Land. You've, in books, here the French landed before Cook come, but they only visited, so did Van Diemen's and the Macassans. But what people don't realise is, as our Uncle Paul, Paul Gordon, he's our boss, teaches us that when you're in a system, when you come to learn the system, be part of it, you have your seat at the table straight away, you've got your totems, your moieties, and that gives you a rite of passage. That rite of passage with your moieties and songlines covers all of Australia. The moiety system, it governs everything. You have your totems, like we got Cubby, Ipai, Combo, Murray. You put in one of those sections, and then all your cultural learnings come off that. So you have your songline, you have your totem for your moiety section, it's sort of meat. Then inside your moiety sections you have another 8 totems, a ringage, as Uncle Paul called it. And totems, it governs everything. You know, your bloodlines, slow blood, fast blood, dark shade, light shade. We can be here all day. The totems are about your food sources. You can't kill your totem. Like we can't kill ours. We'd hunt with other people from other totems. They'd hunt our food for us. We'd hunt theirs. And it's always about being together, sharing, caring. And that's the system that our first settlers in the first boats that came to Australia were put in. Now, when Captain Cook and them come, they didn't want to be part of that system. They wanted to have their own system to put in place here to the terra nullius word they use. Marutupuna kirlati papa yanani guni impuan datangku nuruluku yanani Uinilana Ngiyampaa Nitcha Pukil Tukai Kilanganana Wagga Wagga Nale Pulanang Kami Papakumi Ekuniku. Dreamtime is a linguist word because they have no concept of our time. Our time is the beginning to now. So they're putting their little dreaming time, I don't know, so people can understand it. But it's not really telling what we're about with it. The first stories we still share today, and these stories governs your behaviour. It's like to be good, to share, not to be bad. You be bad, things happen. Our stories cover the same sort of stories as the rest of the world. But our stories, we have different levels. You got the kids level, adults level, and the spiritual level. And then that just takes you on another journey, what I'm still on and what James is on. And once we get to those levels, we'll be a bit wiser, I guess.
So the stories that Uncle Pete and the other uncles have been telling me, I have to recite back over and over until I have it pretty much correct. There's always a bit of, wriggle room. I use English. I'm still very new to this sort of in-depth learning. So I just do it in English. I know my totems and things in language. But I don't know many of the songs in language yet. That's still to learn, and that might be, as Uncle Pete can say, there is a start to the journey, but in some ways there is no end. There's always learning. There's more to learn. So we tell the stories, and I have to recite them back to the uncles, and then once I get to a point where they're happy with the stories that I'm passing on. And now that I've gone through a traditional ceremony, I've been initiated, I can now tell some of those stories, the ones I have correct, I can now tell those to normally the kids, the younger members. And some of these stories are quite okay, as far as I'm aware, to tell out in the community, as long as it has nothing to do with ceremony, which is a different level again, and that's, you have to earn that knowledge and respect to get that knowledge. And as far as I'm aware, the wider community they haven't attained that, or they haven't looked for it. I think that's the thing with a lot of the maybe white community, where they might think that there's a barrier between the learning with Indigenous people, but from my experience, not at all. If you're open to it and you want to learn, you're accepted 100% and more. It's quite amazing how someone just through a chance meeting 4 or 5 years ago, we've become so close, and our families know each other, and it's just an amazing experience, and there is so much to learn, and we should be learning it. It really is very important. Hopefully, I think, in the future, Uncle Pete can talk more about it, but it seems in a way to be getting a little bit better in some ways, where the communities are coming together, and in other ways, there's still maybe a long way to go, but that's the best way forward, is together. And maybe that's where some non-Indigenous people think there might be a barrier. I don't see that. If you put yourself forward with love, respect and humility, and want to learn, and if you show those 3 things, which is very big in Indigenous culture, they will accept you. And it might take time. That can be maybe off-putting, Our conception of time is, today, tomorrow, next week, and that doesn't always work. It took me basically 2 years to meet these uncles, make that connection, and it was about 2 years before I was taken out on country and started to learn.
The stories and everything else, like it says, we keep it in our system, teach each families. It's about giving, always giving and sharing and loving. And like my brother said, it's always got to be humble, respectful. Got to share, got to love each other. So if you were born in this continent, you have the right to learn these stories and songs as my brother has and others. You have the right to come to ceremonies or come as a visitor and be part of it. But you must do it for the right reason, not to exploit the system, because then the system deals with those exploitations. It's for the right reasons and only the right reasons. Don't ever go the bad way. I've been there. It's not good. And as we walk on to different places, we'll sing the country as we go. And yes, he dances pretty good.
Does he?
Yeah.
I can shake a leg. That's about the best I've got.
So the dance movements are about communicating something?
It's getting the story across. It's
getting-
a legging style of dance. It's to give respects back to God for everything He give us. When we stomp, it's to raise the dust, to awaken the ancestors, so they know we're sharing our law and loving everything. So wherever you go across Australia, you got different ways and different meanings for their styles of dancing.
Right.
But everyone's got a certain movement for a kangaroo, an emu, a Brewarrina, and an ant. Everything's sung. We got ceremonies for everything and anything. Well, my kids, they just go to school being kids.
Yep.
You know, they say, they'll come home, someone's made a comment. I said, well, you can do whatever you like, but are you that? Or are you a person? You know, I grew up, I had a pretty good childhood like my kids, and that's why I try to give them. I didn't grow up with racism. My family kept us from it.
Wow.
We grew up on the riverbank at Brewarrina, Crowley's Rocks. We then went into West Brewarrina mission. And that was just like a big camp. We'd run around everywhere, running throughout everybody's houses, you know, and one of the pregnant ladies, she was breastfeeding, and if we were thirsty, they were playing bingo, we'd line up for breastfeed, and then we'd keep going. So I had the best childhood, like, you know, we walked to school from down Crowley's, that's about 2 miles to school, 2 or 3. And when we got to school, it was, yeah, we mingled, we played with it, all kids of all colours. I didn't grow up with culture. I started at 25 with Uncle Paul. And when I done the first training, going bush every week with him, then I went back in town and told my footy mates, and I said, you're not black. They said, why? I said, well, black and Aboriginal is just a white fella's word. We've got to be the law of our land. Once you learn the law of your land, then we are for this continent. All the other things are just words. We're to go back to being the law of this land, and that's what Damu Paul and the other 2 old men that are passed now have retaught us. Colour of learning is not an issue, otherwise if colour was an issue, you'd see the spirits. So to me, you know, probably irk a few people, even Indigenous. If you haven't done the ceremonies to put back to Mother Earth, to God, to the ancestors, to the old way, to put the love back into this lovely continent of ours, then you're just Aboriginal. That goes for white and black. Marutupuna kirlati papa yanani Ngiyampaa datang kunyuluku yanani winilana Ngiyampaa nitcha pukil tukai kilanganana Wagga Wagga ngale pulanang kami papa kumi kuniku